Okay. At this time, I'd like to call into session the Northborough-Southborough Regional School Committee special open meeting of Thursday, July 23rd, 2020, 5:30 p.m. I'd like to read into the record what occurs before the agenda, and it is a special order due to COVID-19. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL, C 30A 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Northborough-Southborough Regional School Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the district website at https://www.nsboro.k12.ma.us/centricity//4/ percentage mark 20 school with a capital S, percentage mark capital 20 capital C, percentage mark 20 capital M for meeting, percentage mark 20 capital S statement .pdf. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so in the following manner. Capital N, capital C, capital A, capital T, capital Educational, capital China, channel, dash, capital Verizon, capital Channel 29 / capital Charter, capital Channel 194, or all capital letters, acronym SAM, capital Government, capital Channel, dash, capital Verizon, capital Channel 37, / capital Charter, capital Channel 192. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the district website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And on the agenda, there was for us to register in advance for this webinar before we have our agenda items. So now I will go to, as Chairman Pro Tem, I will go to the election of officers. Before we do so, I would like to welcome the newest member that we have for the regional board, which is Chris Covino, who is currently a science teacher at Tohoto Regional High School in Boylston. And I'd also like to welcome Karen Ayers as she begins her one-year term filling in for Lynn. And Greg, Sean Bevan, is he in attendance today or no?
He is in the audience. He is multitasking and completing some work, but he is listening in. So his first meeting will be at the next school committee meeting.
Okay, so I'd also like to welcome, even if it's just an audience member, Mr. Sean Bevan, I'd like to welcome you into your role as the principal of Algonquin Regional High School. On election of officers, I would just like to review very quickly just some of the highlights of our policy, especially for the new members, of B240 election of officers. The chairmanship is rotated with each annual election between Northborough and Southborough. Last year was Southborough's rotation, so now it is for Northborough to take the positions for chair, vice chair, and secretary. Any regional member can nominate any eligible member for election for chair. Nominations do not require seconds, but must be accepted by the nominee. If we have several candidates, then we will invite each candidate to speak on their behalf, or any other regional committee member may do so. Because this is a remote meeting, the voting for the chair and the vice chair and the secretary and other subsequent votes will be done by a roll call. The candidate receiving the majority of the votes, ignoring abstentions, shall be elected chair. If no candidate receives a majority vote, subsequent rounds of voting shall be held until a chair is elected. Once we have a newly elected chair, I will relinquish my chairman pro tem over to that person, and then we will go to immediately the chair will go for election of vice chair and secretary positions. I am starting off the nomination process today by nominating myself, Joan Frank, for chair. If there are other nominations, and I do accept the nominations, if there are other nominations, please say Madam Chair, since I can't see your hand being raised, and I will recognize you and take your nomination. Are there any nominations, any other nominations at this time? Seeing that there are no other nominations, this will be a roll call. If you are in support of myself as chair, say in the affirmative. Karen Ayers.
Yeah. Madam Chair?
Yes.
So isn't it typical for you to
Get a second.
give a little saying of why you want to be chair and what, and give us, I mean, this has just been past practice, give us the opportunity to talk about all your great, I mean, I think that's in the policy.
Yeah, it is. I think I read that. I was trying to go real fast knowing what the time is. It
I'm
said
sorry.
here, no, that's okay. It says the chair may invite each candidate to speak on their behalf, and other regional members can speak on their behalf. They can speak about the candidates that are coming forward. Yes, you are correct, Kathleen.
Would you like to speak on your behalf?
Sure. I think it might help for the newest members, right?
Yes.
The reason that I am putting my name into nomination for chair is that I have over 30 years in education as a reading specialist and a classroom teacher, and I have 23 years in school committee. I decided to get involved in school committee in 1993 when Ed Reform Act was just coming into place. And through that, it was a great connection between what I was doing in the classroom and what I would do in my role in volunteer. I always wanted to volunteer and give back into the community. And with the 23 years, I've enjoyed my role on the regional school committee, Northborough, and at different times on the union. I feel I'm well versed in policies, parliamentary rule, Robert's Rules of Order, how to run a meeting and bring people to consensus. I understand the dynamics and complexities of the two towns of the region. I have a strong record, a very strong record of working with the town administration and board of selectmen. I have a great relationship with the town, which is important in these next year or two with budget implications. I think I can recite the policies, which I learned, and I was a slow, fast learner on those in my sleep. And throughout this past year in Zoom meetings, I provided guidance during open meetings and executive sessions. I feel that I am qualified to be chair, and I know that I can work with all of you because I need your expertise. We all have our strengths to bring us through the tough year ahead. There's so many things that are coming before us. I think that we can see the emails that come through the Northborough patch, the Southborough patch about how to reopening school. And as chair, I need the expertise of all of you. I need the expertise of the Southborough members. I need the expertise of the Northborough members. And I want to do this in a cooperative and a collaboration. And I look for everybody's input to help. I will be available 24/7. And I have dedicated this year, since I've been retired, to do my best that I can for both of our committees. And I promise that I will be a good listener to everybody. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Kathleen?
may I speak on your behalf?
Sure.
So this is going to sound weird, but hear me out.
Okay.
So given the weird, bizarre, unprecedented times that we are in,
Mhm.
I was of the firm belief that actually Sean O'Shea was going to be the best candidate for school committee chair, given that he is a principal in a regional school district, and he is going through all of the exact same things that Greg is going through on a daily basis. And so that would just lead to a very efficient communication between the two of them. And he could absolutely, he knew exactly what it is that Greg was going through. And my belief has always been that in order to have a truly well-functioning district, you have to have a good relationship between the chair and the superintendent. So it made
Mhm.
perfect sense. And plus, he has a child at Algonquin, and I'm just a firm believer that that is very, very important for communication and just for for bouncing ideas off of, because you have the pulse of what's really going on with the students and with the parents.
Mhm.
But because of his insane job, I'm sure, I understand that there's probably much reluctance in taking on a position such as this because he doesn't have the time, which is completely understandable. And but Joan does have the time, and she certainly has the commitment to fostering a collaborative environment, like she just said. We have on this school committee an unbelievable amount of expertise in finance, law, journalism. We have so much expertise in different aspects of education that I think Joan will be a good person to rally all that, and to because all those voices need to be heard in this weird environment where we're trying to reopen schools during an impossible time. I think Joan also has a great commitment to mentoring, and I will be the first to pre-nominate Sean O'Shea as the vice chair. And I think that between the two of them, it'll be a great relationship, and it'll be a great, almost like a co-chair environment. Joan can mentor Sean in the workings of school committee from this perspective. And also Sean can help Joan with all the issues from his perspective as being an administrator. And then lastly, I think that Joan has worked with Greg back in Hopkinton. And I think that is of a big benefit because hopefully there is already a relationship of trust, which is very, very important between a school committee chair and the superintendent. Because, just you're always talking to them in a situation, in an environment like this. And that's just really, really important. So for all those reasons, that is why I am in favor of Joan Frank for chair of the school committee.
Thank you, Kathleen. I am really touched by your remarks. And before I go to other members, I would also like to highlight that I think that as a chair, I want to work closely with a co-chair. I want to make it a partnership because it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to get through this and to give all of your background, all of your education, business. I just applaud Paul Desmond and Paul Buckett for their financial wizardry that they can do, and I just admire them so well for what they can do. And for that reason, I think that I want to work together with Northborough-Southborough, and I want to work together with Sean and like you say, Kathleen, for the wonderful job that you did with Kathy, because we had to go from face-to-face meetings to go to Zoom meetings, and it was very difficult. And Kathy did an awful lot. And I remember that when Kathy last May took the chairpersonship, you were sitting right next to her, and you were helping to mentor, because it could be scary the first time you're doing this. And in the positions, if we ever get back to a one-on-one situation, I would like Sean to be right there next to me, because I also agree that Sean has so many qualities and he has a different perspective than I have at the elementary level, where he has the high school. And he may be getting some things from the Commissioner of Education that is pertinent to the high school that he can share with all of us, not just me, immediately, along with Greg. And I would like to say that I do have a good working relationship with Greg, where Greg was my boss in Hopkinton. And I remember coming into his office one day and said, Greg, I can see high, lofty goals for you. Someday I can see you as superintendent. And then he was only my principal. And I was very pleased when I served on the committee and had Greg to be there. And I think that Greg and I have a good working relationship. I think that he has shown everything that I believed that he would be when I saw him as a leader in the Hopkins School. Just his style of leadership, the way that he runs the meetings, his openness and his fairness, just as all the previous superintendents did. So I would just like to echo those and to tag along onto yours, Kathleen. So is there any other comments from any other committee member on the nomination of Joan Frank as chair?
I have one more.
Okay.
I support you under the stipulation that I know you're a reading specialist, but you got to read Charlie Baker's order much faster and at the beginning of every meeting, please.
You
We
know,
don't need the capitals, etc.
well, I didn't, and I was like, oh, I should have listened more, because when Kathy Key would say, should I read this? And I'm like, yes. I'm like, okay, when she gets down to the bottom, when she gets down to after the meeting, I'll know she read it. I should have paid closer attention. So thank you very much. I will take that criticism and I will speed it up next time.
Thank you.
I promise. Any other comments? Okay, so this will be a roll call. I have the members here in alphabetical order. So it's either an affirmative or the negative. Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucca,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathleen Howland, is she in? I guess Kathy Howland, Kathy Key,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea,
Yes.
Kathleen Palachko,
Yes.
and myself, yes. I would say that I'm looking forward to working with everybody. I want to have open communication. Don't feel that that you can't talk to me about any issue, or just as Kathleen just gave me a thing to improve upon. I never stop learning, and I want to be here for all of you. The next nomination that we have is for vice chair, and that was made by Kathleen Palachko for Sean. Sean, will you accept the nomination for vice chair?
I do. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing that there are none, is there anybody who would like to talk on Sean's qualifications as vice chair?
Is Kathleen Palachko. I will say that just rewind what I said earlier.
Excellent. And I will double on my comments. I think that Sean and I will have an excellent working relationship, and I look forward to his wisdom and his expertise to help us and to help myself. So at this time, it's a roll call. Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucca,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathleen Highland, Kathy Key,
Yes.
Dan Kalenda, he's absent. Sean,
Yes.
Kathleen Palachko,
Yes.
Joan Frank, yes, with 100% certainty. Sean, congratulations on vice chair.
Thank you all. Thank you all. And I look forward to being mentored and working together. So thank you.
Thank you. And I look forward to being mentored from you also in this collaboration. Now we have secretary. Are there any nominations for secretary? It comes from Northborough.
Maybe you could explain what secretary is.
I know that the secretary position is one that they outlined that they should be taking minutes, but we do have somebody who takes the minutes at that time. I think if we go into an executive session, the secretary would be responsible for taking the minutes. And it very, very rarely at times there is something from the state that the secretary has to have the signature on a document given to the state. And there may be, maybe Greg can clarify that. Any other things that, Greg, you found this, or even Kathy Key, what have you found?
The only thing I would add to the secretary's responsibilities would be if the chairperson or the vice chairperson we're not able to make a meeting, the secretary would serve as the chair of the committee at that meeting.
Yeah, I don't think that our secretary from this past year, was it Paul Desmond, I think?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that you had to do a whole lot except for one set of notes, correct?
I think that's right. And I signed a document. It was really difficult.
Yeah, and when I was secretary, all I had to do was sign a document.
So I'm going to nominate Karen Ayers since she's got the most seniority out of the members who are here.
The whole what? 1.5 months?
That's right.
All right.
So
That's fine.
Karen, do you accept the nomination for secretary?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Any other comments and remarks for the candidacy of Karen Ayers? Okay, seeing that there are no other nominations, this will be roll call. Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucca,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathy Key,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea,
Yes.
Kathleen Palechko,
Yes.
and Joan Frank, yes. And now that we have our slate of officers, I would just like to say that I thank the Southborough members for doing such a great job this past year, keeping us in order. It was not an easy task, especially when we got into March. And I would like to thank everybody for their dedication of serving on the committee. So thank you to Southborough for the wonderful job leading us in such a changing year that we had. Thank you very much.
Joan, through the chair.
Yes.
So I just want to also echo your remarks and thank Kathy Key for her leadership this year. She was, it was a challenging year to be a chairperson of a school committee. She was very responsive, very professional, collegial, and I just want to thank her for her leadership and dedication, as well as Vice Chairperson Kathleen Palechko. So thank you for your service and your guidance and your leadership.
And who else could lead a regional school committee while she was driving in a car to go visit her son in college? There's not too many people that can do that. So thank you
Through the
very much.
Through the chair, I forgot to also thank Paul Desmond for the signature. So thank you, Mr. Desmond.
Anytime.
Hey, Karen, so you'll have to ask Paul Desmond and, you know, about that signature, what kind of ink pen to use, and if it's cursive with curls or not.
Right. We'll have to have a conversation about that.
Right.
Okay, and I'm watching the time because we do have, as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we have 2 members that are going to have to leave. So I'd like to get the whole agenda done if we can. Kathy has to leave at 6:50 and Paul at 6:30. So I have a time element here of about a half hour. So I'm going to try to get through this. The next agenda item that we have is the Regional School Committee Resolution, COVID-19 state funding. We'll need a vote to accept this. And then if it is an affirmative vote, then the school committee members will be notified by central office and Cheryl Lepre how to sign electronically. This resolution was sent to our committees to consider a vote to accept. It has been taken up by school committees across the state, calling for full state reimbursement of all COVID-19 school expenses, staffing, transportation, and materials. If we vote to accept, it will be sent to the governor, the education secretary, education commissioner, Senate president, House speaker, joint education committee co-chairs, and district, state senators and representatives. The authors of this resolution felt that a shared resolution from all the school committees across this state would have it be a powerful statement. As of Tuesday, July 21st, there were 162 school committees that have passed this resolution. And in doing the research, Northborough took their vote, Northborough KDA took their vote on July 11th and became the 146th school committee to do so. So before you on the screen that Greg has shared, the resolution is of 4 paragraphs. Is there any questions on this or comments? Greg, does this have to be read into open session? or can we bypass it?
You can bypass it, Joan.
Okay,
So do we need a motion?
yes, we do.
I'll move that we accept the resolution regarding COVID-19 state funding as presented in the packet.
Okay, motion was made by Paul Desmond. Is there a second?
Second,
Second.
And who was the first?
Karen.
Karen. I had talked to Kathleen and she had made a good suggestion that because I can't see your hands, if you could say Madam Chair, and then I will try to identify who you are, okay? Okay, so it's made by Paul Desmond, Karen Ayers to accept. Roll call, Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucka,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathleen Highland, not in, Kathy Key,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea,
Yes.
Kathleen Palechko,
Yes.
and Joan Frank. Thank you. So Central, Cheryl.
Joan, you
Yes.
gotta say yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you. See, I still need mentoring. Thank you, Kathleen. So Greg, will Cheryl Lepre be in touch with the members to sign this electronically?
Yes, so you should receive an email from DocuSign to sign the resolution, probably most likely tomorrow.
Okay, great. Okay, we're going on to our next agenda item. We have the Student Opportunity Act. And on this one, the Student Opportunity Act was signed into law on November 26, 2019. Greg and his administration have submitted a 3-year evidence-based plan requesting $42,450 to continue to build our district's targeted support systems to improve English language arts achievement for students with disabilities and English learners who are at risk, according to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Elementary Warning Indicators System. Greg, do you have something to add?
I do. So this is, as Joan mentioned, part of the Student Opportunity Act, which added $1.3 billion to education across the Commonwealth. The goal is to implement the monies over a 4-year period, and the regional districts portion of that money is, as Joan mentioned, $42,450. However, with the pandemic, this was pre-pandemic, we have not seen our Chapter 70 funding numbers. With the governor, extending the budget process, there is a chance that we will not see this funding in this fiscal year, FY21.
Any questions through the chair to Greg? Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept the Student Opportunity Plan for the Northborough-Southborough Regional School District?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's made by Paul Desmond, second by
Paul Budka.
Paul Bucka. Thank you, Paul. Okay, seeing no other further discussion, this will be a roll call. Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucka,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathleen Highland, Kathy Key,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea,
Yes.
Kathleen Palechko,
Yes.
Joan Frank, yes. Okay, next is audience sharing. And Greg, I guess you can see if there are any audience members that would like to have anything to say. If you are an audience member, please identify yourself by your name and address.
So, Madam Chair, we do have a member of the audience who would like to share, so I will promote her to a panelist.
Okay.
However, I think the chat indicates she just lost power. Oh, here she is. Hang on.
Okay.
So ask the audience members to share their name and their street address prior to sharing. So
So is it, oh, it's,
Okay. This is Jane Bitar. Can you folks hear me?
Yes, I can. As school committee members, can you hear Jane
Yes.
Bitar?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Jane Bitar. I am a teacher at the school. I live on Elmwood Drive in Northborough, Mass. Right here in town, a tree just came down on a telephone pole and we have no power. I'm in my car trying to do this and thankful for the opportunity. I've met you in the high school as well, and I have met you before and presented on behalf of the English department before. And while I would love to do this in person, we've all become used to this sort of remote meeting format. I will.
So it looks like Jane Bitar has lost her connection. So we have, I'll go to the next audience member, and then if Jane joins us, I will have her join as a panelist again. So the next person.
Welcome to the audience sharing. If you could please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Christina Smith, and I live in Jefferson, Massachusetts, and I'm an educator at Algonquin. So good evening, school committee members, Superintendent Martineau, and central office staff. If there are any here, I can't see who's all here. My name is Dr. Christina Smith, and I reside in Jefferson, Massachusetts, as I mentioned, and I've had the privilege of having worked in the Northborough-Southborough Regional School District since 1995 in the Social Studies Department, which I chaired for 10 years. I'm speaking to you this evening as an educator in the district and as the co-president of the Algonquin Regional Teachers Association. First, I want to thank the committee and the community for your support of education. In a month, I will begin my 26th year in a district that I am proud to work in. I've always felt supported by the school community, the school committee, by the policies that you have set in place, the funding you have advocated for, and the programming you have supported, as they have played a large role in this. The communities of Northborough and Southborough have always been there for the students, families, and those who educate their children. Today, July 23rd, we are only 38 calendar days away from the scheduled opening of the 2020-21 school year. In thinking about this school year, it will be like no other that has come before. There are myriad challenges ahead. While typically someone might say to you at this point in an address such as this, I don't envy you and the decision you have to make about reopening school buildings. I won't say that to you because I'm also in your position. I too serve on a school committee. I'm a member of the Wachusett Regional School Committee, and I'm in my 9th year on that committee. I'm also in your shoes, as I will be deliberating with my committee next week about whether we can safely open our school buildings. While you are not discussing this topic tonight, I wanted to provide you with some general thoughts about reopening school buildings. To date in Massachusetts, we have not had 14 consecutive days worth of data showing a downward trend. While our death rates are lower than they were in April and May, they are not at zero. The same can be said of the positive tests for COVID in the state. Yesterday, there were 18 confirmed deaths due to COVID and 192 confirmed cases. And our total death rate from COVID in our state is at 8,249 lives lost. I'm looking forward, as are many others, to the informational panels that Superintendent Martineau has arranged with medical experts who are also members of the Northborough-Southborough community, provide more information on the current health data and metrics. However, from my educator and citizens perspective, I'm concerned not only about our COVID data today, but what it will be in 38 days. With summer travel and some colleges welcoming back students from all over the country, we may be in a very different place with our transmission rates in a short time. We only need to look to California to see this as an example, and we all hope that we will continue to hold steady as we have been doing with our death rates, and I'm cautiously optimistic, but we just don't know what the data will show in 38 calendar days from today. One of our many concerns is about air quality and ventilation in the school. And again, we'd like to thank the superintendent for providing an opportunity for us to have an audience with Mr. Vishwanathan, who is an energy efficiency expert. We are looking forward to learning more about the systems in our district but of particular interest is learning about the air quality and ventilation at Algonquin. This is a key component of safe buildings pre-COVID, and we are eager to understand the state of our HVAC and ventilation and about mitigation efforts that will be made to address ventilation and filtration. In exploring the topic of school reopening and your options as a committee, more than likely they will be boiled down to two options to begin the year, either a hybrid option or a remote option. To the person eager to get their children back in a physical school building, I think it is important to note what a hybrid model might mean for how many humans will be in the building. Under the draft hybrid models the district is considering, it may mean an average of 10 to 12 students in a classroom with 1 to 2 adults. Some classes have 1 teacher and 1 instructional aide. Some may even have more adults than that in a class. So in a hybrid model, there could be classes of 10 to 14 adult-sized individuals in a classroom space. This doesn't sound too bad. It sounds doable. But once you take those, let's say 12 individuals and multiply that by the number of students and staff who would be in the building during the current hybrid design, now we're talking on average 700 students and 200 staff. Easy enough math, we're at about 900 people. Now, if I take that and provide a snapshot of one hallway, I'll choose my hallway, apartment hallway, G100, which is right around the corner from where you normally meet. There are 14 classrooms. If each classroom has 12 students and 1 teacher, that'd be 182 people in that one corridor. That's 182 people vying for the same restroom, the same air, the same space for mask breaks, and will be changing classes at the end of the period together. It's just too many people. So although hybrid may seem like it's a great way to get students and faculty and staff back in the physical buildings, there are so many questions. As how will sanitizing work? What will hallway flow look like? What will students do will students be in cohorts? How will we ensure students are staying physically distanced in the hall, on the bus? This is a broad stroke picture. What if we look at a classroom? A classroom at Algonquin prior to these conditions was an interactive place. Students could be found working in small groups with desks arranged in clusters, collaborating on a task. They would be accessing handouts, books, and resources on the internet. They might be responding to images or quotes on large poster paper and discussing their responses. They'd be talking, smiling, thinking, discussing their responses, questioning and interacting with their teacher and other students. Students could freely get up to get resources like colored pencils, markers, papers, even a Kleenex. In this new classroom environment, students will all be facing the same way, masks on. The teacher will not be able to see the students' faces. Their smiles, I'm not sure if we'll be able to tell if those are there unless the teacher looks very carefully from 6 feet away to the corners of the students' eyes. Group work will be through technology and students will not be able to get up to get tissues or use the restroom without alarming others. Our once nurturing environments with our metaphorical arms open to students will now be mask-clad with a message of keep your distance. What will this do to our relationships with our students? How will we build them amidst the clouds of cleaner, mask, physical distancing protocols, guidelines, stress, anxiety, and fear? Health and safety is not simply physical health and physical health safety, but this includes mental well-being, which is correlated to our physical health. Human beings who are in a state of alarm or stress are severely hampered in their ability to learn and process information. Chronic stress has crippling and devastating effects on physical health, and one of those effects is the suppression of the immune system due to, in part, the stream of corticosteroids in the body. Our students who don't feel safe won't learn. Our educators who don't feel safe will not perform at their best. Algonquin has been a place where students and teachers thrive and grow together. We want to work together with you to provide that type of environment, even with all these challenges we face. Our position is that the best way to begin the 2020-21 school year is with a robust and rigorous remote program. The Algonquin Regional Teachers Association has been working with our sister locals association to augment remote learning, teaching and learning. We enjoy ideas with the superintendent and the central office staff, which they've invited us to do tomorrow. Reimagining remote teaching and learning is where we think our time is best spent at this point. And it is our position that a remote start is a safe start. And this is because we believe it will allow us to do 5 very important things. 1, employ a wait-and-see approach so we can utilize data from surrounding communities about transmission of COVID in the school setting. 2, gain an understanding of the issues and problems that other communities are having with their hybrid plans and protocols. 3, provide times for necessary professional development and training on so many topics. And the administration hosted a professional development meeting today to gather topics, and the ideas were plentiful. And we applaud the district for gathering this information and their continued commitment to high-quality professional development. 4, provide time for staff to develop and learn new protocols for health and safety and to provide feedback. And 5, provide time to educate students and families about protocols for health and safety on the different models of learning and provide feedback. When you discuss, in closing, when you discuss reopening plans on your August 5th meeting, we urge you to consider a remote start so that there can be a guarantee, to quote OSHA's general duty clause, which school districts must comply with, that our buildings are, quote, free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious harm to employees, end quote. There may be an urgency to get students into school buildings, but believe me, there's no rush on my part to have to attend the funeral of a student, their family member, a staff or faculty member. One person's loss of life or their critical illness would not be worth opening the school building doors in haste. We do hope that you will support a remote.
Excuse me, can I interrupt for a second, Christina, Madam Chair, if I could?
I'm
Yes.
done.
Yes,
done.
Paul.
So the speaker continues to use plural, we, and I'm just wondering, are we hearing from the union here? Is this a union statement? And I didn't think that was identified at the beginning of this particular presentation, but is this the Regional Teachers Association union speaking to us now? You
I
keep
was
saying
speak-
we, Christine. I'm sorry.
I was
to
speaking in my role as a teacher and in my role as co-president of the association.
So you are speaking then as your co-president, Mr. Paul Buck had mentioned, you are speaking as the leader of your union for all your members.
I'm for that position, yes.
Paul, I know with audience sharing, we always, there may be a time limit, so.
Okay, I went over. I'm all done. I'm done.
Okay.
I thank you so much for your listening to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Christina Smith. And as for the members, as they know, in audience sharing, this is just a portion where we listen, and members can, if it gets too long, we can ask for point of order, as Mr. Bucket did, and ask for clarification, but we also do not have any dialogue going back and forth unless there's a clarification question as we needed right now, which was very necessary. So Paul, thank you very much for your question clarification.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I really
No,
it
that's fine.
comes across a little rude, and I don't mean to be rude, but if we're going to be negotiating with the union, then it should be identified as such, and I don't know, just seems a little odd to be doing it in this form.
So Madam Chair.
Yes, Greg.
Mrs. Jane Vitar is back with us, so I'm going to, she's on as a panelist, so whenever you are ready to have Jane speak.
Okay, and since Paul mentioned and Kathy have to leave the meeting, I know that it doesn't say that we limit people, but Jane, I just hope that you could. We have 10 minutes to finish the rest of the meeting and just the agenda meetings. But if we could be cognizant of the time so that we can finish this school committee meeting by 6:30, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay, I will try my best. And if you lose me again, I will send my statement in writing to you folks. I will cut down and just start in the middle of my notes. I feel strongly about getting the kids back into the classroom. Again, I am a teacher, I'm a parent, I'm a resident. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think we can do it safely. According to the district's survey of families earlier this month, the majority of families would send their children to school. However, a recent survey of teachers shows a different feeling. The majority of teachers surveyed don't feel it is safe to return to the classroom. My opinion is not the popular opinion. I am among the minority, it appears, when it comes to teachers feeling safe and ready to return to the classroom to deliver excellent instruction. This disconnect between what teachers feel and what families feel concerns me. It's not my place to tell others how they should feel. I know their anxiety and concern is well-founded, but the philosophy, the mantra of education has always been students first. I was a little sad and surprised when I read the results of the survey and comments by my colleagues, many of which indicate fear and discomfort. I understand that. I found it a bit confusing as well, because they also reported the majority of faculty and families are not at risk or more vulnerable to contracting the virus. In a letter to the superintendent, which Christina Smith just read a part of to us, the presidents of the teachers union wrote, "Human beings who are in a state of alarm or stress or severely hampered in their ability to learn. Most of our students who are in a state of alarm or stress feel this way at the thought of not returning to school. It is not the virus that many of our students fear. It is the potential for more remote learning and less real-life high school experience and education. Our students' mental well-being is just as important as that of students who fear being exposed to the virus. The letter states students and faculty who don't feel safe will not learn well. I agree with this, but students and faculty who are forced to learn and teach remotely when they are desperate to be back in the classroom and to return to routine and normalcy will not learn well either. Our students live with all kinds of stressors daily, and many of them thrive with proper supports. Unfortunately, this is another stressor to add to our growing list, but it does not mean that we need to fear it or isolate ourselves from it." Let's see. Thousands of, I am too fearful as well, but the virus is horrible and it's scary. I get far more fearful and scared every time my daughter gets into her car. The safe thing to do is to not let her drive, but that is not what living life is. We cannot condition our children to fear and to isolate. We can teach them to live life carefully and safely. Going into school in the middle of a pandemic is a risk and it is scary, along with so many other things that we do. I hope that we can all agree it is possible to bring kids back safely, even in a hybrid model. That they are entitled to the classroom, to their excellent education. It has been done by others and it can be done by us. If we don't go back to school in September, it will be 6 months of classroom learning that kids have missed. 6 months is significant loss at any age. I urge you and my colleagues to fight for education and life experience as much as I fight for safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bitar, and thank you for your dedication as Dr. Christina Smith to our students and our educational community. Thank you very much. Greg, is there any other audience sharing?
Yes, so we have, hang on. So we have Mr. Ethan Winter.
Okay, Mr. Ethan Winter, welcome to the audience sharing portion of the Northborough-Southborough Regional School Committee. Besides identifying yourself, can you give us your address?
I currently live in Millbury, formerly of 22 Gristmill Lane in Northborough, Massachusetts. I'm a graduate of Algonquin in 2010, and currently I'm a sports writer for the Metro West Daily News. And my question is, sorry about that.
Hey, that's okay. That's one of our future students, or
my question is, how's the school committee kind of discussed about revamping or reorganizing the curriculum to accommodate a much more detailed unit on Native American history, more specifically the history of the Algonquin tribe, which the school is named after, as well as other tribes that are local to the area.
Okay, I know through audience sharing, this is a time where we just take the input and we listen to you. And I think through the superintendent, maybe he could respond to you in writing or at another time.
Okay.
There's no dialogue that goes through in audience sharing, but we have your information down. And if we can have your street address, maybe the superintendent can reach out to you to answer your question.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And I believe, I thought we had one more person who was asking to speak in audience. The audience? I don't see the person's hand up anymore.
In the chat, there was a person who asked, right?
Marie Portis.
So is that person there or
So I
gone?
just promoted her to panelist,
Okay.
and I believe Marie Porteous is on.
Marie, welcome to the audience sharing of the Northborough Regional School Committee. And can you just identify yourself and your street address and town?
Yes, hi, this is Marie Porteous. I am a faculty member at Algonquin. My address is Sugar Road in Bolton, Mass. So I am a teacher there, as I mentioned. I had one son attend the school, graduated in 2017. Just simple math, coming from a math and physics background. I'm a special ed teacher now. At any one time, with 800 to 1,000 kids, with a 2% infection rate in Massachusetts, approximately, we have to assume there's going to be at least 1 or 2 kids walking around the building or staff members walking around the building who are infected, maybe infected coming down, like getting sick, unknown. But I think when you look at a single student, 10 kids in a class, 7 classes, that's 70 kids plus teachers. That's what we're going to be looking at on a consistent basis. Just some math to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie, for your input. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Any other audience sharing members? Greg?
I think that concludes our audience sharing for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Are there any school committee members that have anything that they would like to share at this time?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Kathy?
Greg, can you fill us in on if we're having an outdoor graduation next week?
Yes, so we are having an outdoor graduation next Thursday evening. So I think the question that you received is, can people still attend if they have not signed up? And due to COVID-19 restrictions, the sign up is closed. So there's not an opportunity to sign up at this point. But again, there will be an outdoor graduation a week from this evening at Algonquin on the football field.
And what time will that be, Greg?
6:30.
Okay.
So can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, certainly, Kathy.
Sorry. I totally understand that, but I don't know. I know how the message went out. Like, I got the message, but I let Ella handle it. Hopefully she did handle it. But I think that there are kids who are assuming they're going, not realizing they had to register for it. So I just want to give you a heads up.
Thank you. And I can follow up with Principal Bevan and Mr. McGowan on that tomorrow.
Okay.
Thanks, Kathy. Any other, does that answer your questions, Kathy, on graduation?
Yeah, I just know that I was with some people this past weekend, and some of the parents weren't aware that they had to register. Like they can't go, but their kids want to go, so they don't. And it's some of they. I just think that there are kids that may show up not realizing that they had to register to go. Maybe not reading the email or whatever, but that is my thought on it. That's what I'm thinking, anyways.
And Greg, it might be nice, as Kathy said, I think, to give people just another reminder of the event and to register so that people can put it on their calendars. I know how graduation is busy, and during this COVID-19, how you did a wonderful graduation and applied for everything the way that it went. And I think that sometimes people just need a general reminder of this date and to register. So thank you, Kathy, for bringing that up. Are there any other agenda items? I'm sorry, audience sharing from any other members?
Joan?
Yes,
Kathleen
Kathleen.
Fletcher.
Sure.
So I just want to share that for those of you who don't realize it, there was a petition going around change.org by a group of people who want to get rid of the Tomahawk mascot. So, Greg and his infinite ability to embrace everybody's opinion and hear from all cohorts, we have held a couple of meetings with the petitioners, and we've heard and listened to their concerns, and they even invited some, I hesitate to say the exact titles of these people because I do not want to say anything politically incorrect, but they were representatives from various Native American organizations, tribes. I'm not exactly sure of their exact titles, so I will not butcher them. But in any event, so we heard from them. We heard from several alumni. There was a couple of actual current Algonquin students, and the meetings were very productive. And we have, by everybody talking and listening, I think that we've come to clarity about what it is that they're exactly looking for in terms of changing a mascot. And we have committed to bring this through a process and bring this up to school committee in about the October timeframe, because as we try to explain to them, there are just one or two things going on that take precedence at this point in time, and we've got to figure out how to reopen these schools, and that is absolutely our priority. But we have been meeting with them, and they are very much involved in what is now going to be our continuing process. I think the majority, or the most important part of which, is that Greg has started to create, and you probably got the email, a coalition for equity. And so this will be in place so that we can continue this discussion and we can really strive for systemic change on these topics, not just changing a mascot, but also things like the curriculum, things like anything that might create inequality and injustice, and it'll be an ongoing discussion, an ongoing process. So that is in the works.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen, what was the name of the group? You said it was a petition through change.org, but you said what group was it that was meeting with the representatives from the Native Americans?
It was this group of, I think the group of petitioners brought them.
Oh, the group of petitioners. Yeah. Okay. And did you say that through the email that we have with Greg on that committee that he is forming the Coalition for Equity, are they going to be working together with that representative group, the composition of the committee?
So I think the composition of the committee is sort of in its early stages. I'll let Greg talk to it, but I think that this is a fluid process, and we're certainly open to suggestions.
Okay. Greg, do you mind highlighting that? Because I was going to bring that up through audience sharing, because I think of all the people that, I see that we have 11 in the audience. I wanted to know if you could highlight this Coalition for Equity that you're forming, and who you're seeking for members, because you are seeking 2 members at large from each community, Northborough and Southborough.
Sure. So thank you. We are forming a Coalition for Equity. An email was sent earlier this week, and we are seeking a comprehensive and broad range of citizens, teachers, educators, school leaders, students, school committee members, and community members at large to really have open and honest discussions and dialogues about our policies and practices that look at equity, making sure our curriculum is comprehensive and represent multiple perspectives, and really engage in systemic change around anti-racism, and making sure that as a district we're doing everything we can to make sure that, again, we are graduating students who are prepared to be citizens outside of Algonquin, who understand a broad range of perspectives, who are advocates, who write and think critically, and continue the work forward.
Okay, and a question I had, Greg, is when you're looking at the community members, how was that sent out to citizens that may not have children in the district?
So we do have approximately, I believe, a little under 1,000 community members in the Northborough and Southborough communities who are signed up for our district email list. So it did go out to that distribution list. We can also partner with NCAT. Terry Newman offered to advertise it on SAM. So we're looking at multiple channels. So we get the community representation.
Okay, and if there is a community member or members that would like to maybe serve on this, and could they contact the district office to get the email sent to them? Where I know it had 3 questions that you had to answer about your interest in serving on a committee and what your background was.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, and the only other thing that I had that I wanted to share was that there was a guide that was sent to all of us from MASC, and I sent it out to the new members, 4-page paper on member roles and reopening of schools, and I thought it was a good background to get started, just different policies and just to give us some guidance on reopening of schools. And the other thing is that there was an email from MSC about charting the course. A brochure was sent out, and starting next week is going to be the beginning of the online training for new members. And I even looked at some of them, and I thought that I might even sign up for some of the 1 or 2 sessions just to refresh myself on that. And then the second one is going to begin on August 3rd, 4th, and 6th is going to be the second. It's a repeat of that. Any other audience sharing? Seeing none, we'll go on to agenda items for the next meeting. The first thing that I just wanted to ask was to remind the school committee members to send their subcommittee assignments. And Kathy, can I ask you to still continue in that role since you had started gathering the subcommittee assignments? Could you still continue that until you get them all from all the committee members and then forward them on as you do to Cheryl Lepre?
Yep, I've forwarded everything. I think I'm just waiting on Kathleen Palechko, Dan Kalenda, and I think one other person.
Okay, so can I put you in chair of that to take care of that, of getting the subcommittee assignments to Cheryl?
Yep, and she's already gone. She's updated all the forms so far. So when I get those 3, she'll have it finished and I'll send it out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
And just looking at subcommittee, this is just a point of something to think about. I know going into the subcommittee meetings, we go in there, maybe the first 5 minutes, we're deciding, okay, who's going to be the chair of this meeting? Who's here? Who should do it? And I would just like to propose an idea before the members that maybe at one of the meetings it's very light. Maybe we could look at the subcommittee assignments, and maybe you could, among ourselves, decide who would want to chair that subcommittee. I think it might be easier in communication with Greg's office and us, but give it some thought. If you guys don't want to do a chairperson of the subcommittee, I thought it might just facilitate a better flow of the meeting, and they know who's going to be in charge and leading instead of trying to figure out when we get there. So give it some thought and send me some notes on it or give me a call about it. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go on. The other thing is Greg, this isn't really for the next meeting because I know that our next meeting was posted at the end of the agenda for August the 5th, but seeing that we may be having a doodle poll went out to see if we could have some meetings before August the 5th. So the only things I would put, not for the next meeting, but I saw today there was a release of the school bus guidelines for reopening of schools. So I like that on the agenda. Also fall sports, and maybe an update from Mr. Marcerino on the MIA recommendations. I know the board of directors made one recommendation, and I don't know what the process is if the board of directors make that, is it the final say or is it still up for discussion? So Mr. Marcerino may have a better idea and to inform us about the recommendations for fall sports. And then maybe for a future one was an update from the pre-K through 12 music study group. I know that Kathleen Howland, I believe, was on that one. And it said that they were going to send a report to us in April, but I know they may not have been able to meet. So just an update on the music study group. Does anyone else have any other agenda items?
Through the chair, can I just make a couple comments?
Sure.
So as we move into the last week in July, my recommendation to the chairperson is that we meet once a week for the sole purpose of discussing reopening plans. I think we're at the point where we have reopening models that we need feedback and input from the committee, and it's essential that you have an opportunity to be presented the plan and the models in anticipation of the August 5th meeting. And then I anticipate even after the August 5th meeting, a meeting weekly will be an important part of the reopening process, just because there are so many decisions and the situation remains very fluid and dynamic.
Joan,
Okay. Yes.
can I ask a question? I think in those meetings, I'd like to ask Superintendent Martineau this. In those meetings, do we need an update on buses then, or specifically, or is there a flow of information you would like us to consider so you can move on in your work? Like, I just want to be thoughtful because there's buses, there's food, there's curriculum, there's schedules. So, in those weekly meetings, is there a timeline of things you'd like us to consider?
So I would just share that we have a very comprehensive reopening district plan, which speaks to all of those topics. So my recommendation is at the next meeting that plan is shared with the committee. And then at that point, I'm sure there will be many questions around specifics, whether it's transportation, food services, academics, and we can answer those questions for the committee members.
Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yep, I just wanted to make sure we didn't lock it into one thing because there's so many pieces, but I think it'll all get rolled out kind of at the same time, and we'll be able to consider a lot of things at once. Yeah.
Thank you, Sean, for your great question. Greg, do we have, I know we did do a doodle poll went out today. If you want to meet once a week, has a date been selected for next week?
So I have not followed up with Cheryl Lepre, which I will do tomorrow or Monday morning. And we do have the following week, August 5th, our meeting is already scheduled. So we're really looking at scheduling the meeting for next week. And I will have more information for the committee tomorrow. Okay,
thank you, Greg. And yeah, we had that meeting for August the 5th at 7 p.m. So thank you for that. And I think it is worthwhile to do it have it every week, because as you said, it's very fluid and things are changing all the time. Okay, so is there any other agenda items for the next meetings that members would like to see? Okay, seeing that there is none and there's no other business that's legally coming before the committee right now, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
made by Paul Bucka, second by Paul Desmond. Or was it Sean?
I'll second. Sean.
Second, okay. And so this is a roll call. Karen Ayers,
Yes.
Paul Bucka,
Yes.
Chris Covino,
Yes.
Paul Desmond,
Yes.
Kathy Key,
Yes.
Sean O'Shea,
Yes.
Kathleen Palechko,
Yes.
and myself, yes. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their faith in me as chairperson, and I will work the hardest that I can for you and is collaborative and cooperative and include everybody. This is a shared position between both towns. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.